Some people set up their Stratocaster guitars so the bridge is screwed quite tight to the body, which means that when you push the tremolo arm, you only get to dive your strings, so the pitch of them goes lower and then returns to normal. But I'm going to talk about how you can set up your bridge so it's floating. So as well as diving, you can pull up on it and the notes will go up a tone or however much you want in pitch. What you can see here is the bridge is slightly raised at the back, which means I could tighten the springs below and that would pull this down so it touched the body. Now a lot of people have their springs set up so that the bridge here is nice and flat against the body, and that means when you use the tremolo arm you can't push back to raise the strings because the bridge is already as far back as it will go. All you can do is push down to lower the note, like that, and then it will return to its resting place against the body of the guitar. But what I'm actually going to do is set the bridge up so it's floating, which means you can go both directions with the tremolo arm, which means that the bridge has to be slightly raised from the body. Now just before I do that, I'm going to show you one other thing, which is for this today I'm just going to start by using the 2 end screws, not all 6 screws of the bridge, the 2 end screws to screw it down. But if someone had screwed all 6 down all the way down, so I'm just going to screw the end ones down to show you what that does. Because of that tilt at the front, if they were all down, you're going to end up with your bridge in this position, slightly raised at the back. So you'll have your bridge raised slightly at the back like that because all the screws are down. It does mean that when you're pushing down with the bar, you're working against the screws. It's not a very good thing to do. You're basically going to risk damaging the screws, damaging the bridge. So these always need to be backed off a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and back off all the middle ones more than I need to. And then just work with the outer 2, which I'm going to back off very slightly now. Just a few turns. And if we come back to the side view, you can see that the bridge is raised here equally all the way along. Now, easily the best way to set up your floating bridge of any kind is to have it fixed while you're doing all of the tightening the strings, tuning it, setting the intonation, setting the string height, etc. And then to release it back into its floating mode. Now to make something like this fixed, what we need to do is block that gap under there, almost like the bridge is touching the body, and then tighten the springs underneath so it's pulled down really hard against what we're blocking it with. So I'm going to slide something under there which is solid but not so hard it's going to damage the actual body of the guitar. So I'm going to push down on the tremolo bar, slide a piece of corrugated card underneath, which actually just gets compressed, but it will stop the lollipop stick that I'm putting on from marking on the body. There we are. And then here on the reverse, I'm just going to tighten the screws so the claw is pulled quite tight. And then when I'm back here on the front, you can see that the bridge is raised slightly. Now the really important thing to remember is the reason we are making this a fixed bridge, so these bits are here and the springs underneath, they are tight enough that whatever we do to the strings above in the process of tuning it up and setting it up, they're not going to become any stronger than the springs underneath, so they're not going to pull the bridge up. The bridge is always going to stay in that place. The reason we do that is as soon as you change the pitch of the string when you're tuning it, as soon as you change the height of the string, as soon as you change the length of the string, if you change the truss rod at all, what you're doing is changing the tension in these strings. So if it wasn't fixed, the bridge would be pulled up against the springs. So every change you make would mean all the other strings would start going into a different pitch out of tune because you're changing the tension above and the tension below is staying the same. The fact the tension below is so strong is what makes it fixed. Once it's all set up, we can remove this and then correctly adjust the tension underneath. Now I'm going to go ahead and do a full setup on this guitar following my full setup video. We don't really need to show you that now because I've got the whole other video about it. But then we're going to come back to this guitar and look at what I then do with the bridge. Okay, this is really hard to film, but the way I'm going to pull this out is actually I'm going to start releasing the tension on the springs underneath by making the screws that hold the claw in place longer. So I'm going to loosen the screws. That's going to loosen the tension underneath, and that should make this drop once the spring tension on the top is slightly stronger than the spring tension underneath. This will drop, and then I'll know that I've got the balance more or less correct. So let's take this out from underneath very slowly. It's a very odd angle to film. I'm just turning each screw one at a time, a very slight turn. You don't have to use cardboard to block it and a lollipop stick. You can use anything, like I said, that's the right thickness for what you want and isn't going to mark. There we go. And the last change to make is I'm going to play the notes and check they're in tune. I can tell that it's all dropped about a whole tone in me unscrewing that. So that was because of the give in the cardboard. So I'm just going to re-tighten this, and because it was in tune at the right tension, if I tighten this, so my note goes, bass note, which is a D at the moment, goes back up to E, I should know that all the rest should be in tune as they were before. But that involves me turning these equally. Nearly there. There we are. An in-tune guitar where the tremolo will allow you to dive and also go up. And the final job here is to tighten the middle screws so they match the outer ones, but that they don't pull down any further and pull the bridge down any further. So really most of the work should be done by the outer screws, and the middle ones don't really need to apply any pressure to the bridge plate itself.